What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? This video is an interview with Rob Logan, the co-founder of Define Human Studios, the developers of Islands of Nyne. This interview is audio only, and I have a documented list of all the questions that I ask and some of the discussions that we had. So you guys can just kind of skip. If you want a specific answer, you can go there and just click exactly to the timestamp that you want. Before this video starts, I'd ask that you guys like the video, share it to the community, and hopefully the ones who have been looking for answers can get them, because we do get into some of the nitty-gritty and we definitely address the elephant in the room. So let's talk about Islands of Nyne with Rob Logan. I appreciate you coming through, man. I think the first thing we should do before we get into it is introduce who you are, what your role is at the studio, and yeah, then we can get into it.
Sure. So my name is Rob Logan, and I'm the co-founder of Define Human Studios. Define Human Studios are the developers behind Islands of Nyne Battle Royale, obviously. I specifically have a few roles on the team. One is that I oversee, the majority of our dev operations, and also take part in a lot of the design decisions for the game itself. Whether that's user experience design, or weapon balancing. So yeah, I have my fingers kind of dipped in all sorts of different jars, as most indie devs do.
Right. First thing I wanted to just so I know, how many people do you guys have working at the studio right now?
Yeah, so right now we're relatively small. We have, I think, around 12 people.
Okay.
I think around half of them are full-time.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, my first question right off the bat, I don't really get a chance to talk to a lot of developers for some more obvious reasons. I feel like I'm pretty critical, and a lot of people don't like to come out and just discuss openly like you guys do. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, this is your guys' first project, right? First game ever. Have you guys had like kind of any more experience before this project, or?
It is. No, it's a really good question, and I think it's something that most people don't know. So myself and Jake, who's the other co-founder, we have always been, pretty hardcore gamers our entire lives. I worked in the education industry actually before this, and I kind of put together e-courses. So that's what I did before I got into game dev. And I also had a lot of kind of project management skills, where Jake, he's always been an incredibly, competitive player of pretty much every single game you can imagine. He's kind of just like a lexicon of knowledge of game information.
Okay.
So we kind of combined both of those skill sets, and one day decided we wanted to develop our own game, and that's kind of where our Kickstarter came into play in 2016, a few years back. So we basically had no experience in the industry, and wanted to create a game, develop it ourselves. We've always been kind of have had very analytical minds. We were always big armchair developers.
Right.
And we decided, like, hey, you know what? We really like the battle royale genre. It's very it's in a very infantile stage right now, and we saw it as an opportunity to kind of jump in and create our own battle royale, one that we'd resonate with, as huge fans of Counter-Strike and Halo, and I think a lot of people can see those influences in Islands of Nyne.
That's cool. Yeah, no, I can definitely see the Halo influence there. So coming out of Kickstarter, you guys had a successful Kickstarter, going into early access. What would you say, because you guys have been out since the middle of July, right?
Yep, July 12th.
Okay, what would you say is like the most unexpected thing about entering early access, being as this is your first project? Was there something that just kind of caught you guys off guard, something you weren't really ready for when you went into this? Because I've never developed a game, so I just like to pick developers' minds if I can.
Yeah, It's it's an interesting question. I think everything is kind of unexpected,
Yeah.
especially if this is kind of your first rodeo. I mean, we've had, we're lucky enough to have, you know, extremely talented developers on the team who have a lot of industry experience. As developers, they might not know exactly what goes into publishing a game on the high level end, but I think we had some really great, a combination of that experience between guys that have shipped multiple titles and guys who are just straight out of college and just want to tackle, um, their first project, which happened to be ours. And just kind of going into early access, it was definitely a bit of a roller coaster for us. Obviously, the big elephant in the room, what everyone kind of wants to know is, what kind of happened,
Yeah.
which, it's obvious. We're completely aware of that. We're not going to ignore that.
Yeah. We'll definitely get into that in a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, but as first timers, I would say that make sure your servers are are working properly. That's probably it really depends on what kind of game you're making too.
Right.
If you're an online multiplayer game, it's definitely a huge undertaking compared to a single player game, because launch is pretty much everything. You want to make sure your matchmaking is at 100%. Your servers are not crapping out. All the infrastructure is in place, so that players aren't disconnecting. Obviously, optimization is something that I think goes really underappreciated by a lot of indie developers, but obviously very appreciated by the players who play in these games. So and that's something, obviously kind of going off a tangent here. We made sure that the game was optimized. We spent a lot of time doing that. Our level designer, Tom, um, you know, I think 80% of his job was, optimization in the last, few months there.
Right.
I think we did a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but it passed the shroud test, I guess, which is
Fair
something
enough.
to say.
Yeah, like being an alpha tester, watching where the game went from the first test. I remember I jumped in for 45 seconds and I saw maps not loading, people flying around. I was like, okay, this isn't anywhere close. And then coming into early access, I was actually pleasantly surprised at how much of the really big stuff got squashed. Kind of, I would say more like first pass polished out. And I thought the game actually launched in a pretty decent state for an early access title. I was impressed.
I appreciate that, and yeah, we definitely worked on that, and made sure, like, so during our alpha phase, we had a bunch of different alpha waves, and I'm sure, yeah, just like you mentioned, you participated in at least one,
Right.
um, and the changes were drastic, from alpha to alpha wave.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, and the community saw that. The community saw that we were, putting in a lot of effort into the things that, they were giving feedback about, especially the optimization. And that's something. Optimization is always a huge undertaking for any sort of developer who's creating a game. That's essentially open world. That's that has a huge multiple huge levels in it.
Yeah.
Especially when it's kind of centered around, skill-based gameplays. When you need that sort of Twitch shooter responsiveness in your game,
Right.
and obviously, we're I know a lot of developers like to say this, like, hey, we're gamers too, guys. Yeah, we know what you
Right.
want.
Yeah. Hello,
But we are
fellow gamers.
literally, yeah, we are literally, just dudes who love playing games, who are very critical when it comes to developing them, and so we wanted to challenge ourselves and come out with one ourselves as gamers. So we know about optimization. We know that players are never going to be happy, unless they're getting 300 frames per second on their Intel graphics
Right.
cards.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah. We see that all the time now. Yeah.
which hey, it's understandable. I wish we had that. I wish we had that.
Sure.
But there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make in the game to kind of achieve that.
Right. Okay. That's cool. Just so I can get some perspective, you and I are sitting down here, obviously, because there was a video that was released about a month ago, where you guys had left a comment saying, maybe we can set something up. I'm glad that we finally can, are able to do that. You saw that video. Obviously, that video touched on a lot of different things going on with the game, from the player numbers to, core game design, the marketing. What was your initial reaction to that video, so I can just kind of see, where you and maybe the studio's head is at, kind of seeing that kind of critical response to your game?
My first initial reaction to it was, wow, I need to answer some of these questions, because I think there's a lot of assumptions going around. There's a lot of
Right.
misinformation going on, and we don't have the team to kind of answer them, and so I felt it was definitely a need to kind of to answer them myself, and make sure that any sort of rumors that aren't necessarily true are squashed.
Right, for sure.
And hey, listen, that the video that you put out, I would say is definitely on the more fair side, considering Big Fry's the usual.
Right.
Um, so so I did appreciate it. I believe there were a few things that might have maybe not have been mistruths, I guess. Just
Okay.
you just probably didn't know about them.
Right. Okay. Well, I definitely want to get into that, because that's definitely some interesting stuff. Okay. So let's jump into some of the stuff that I did bring up in that video. One of the main ones that we see around the community with the reviews and stuff is the lack of, I guess you'd say, communication, and the actual lack of development. You see a lot. I've been reading the reviews. I've been seeing people talking about it. Dead game, haven't updated. We haven't had an update, according to the Steam page anyway, since August, I want to say 29th. What's the main reason that you guys have almost seemingly gone almost radio silent outside of the dev blogs?
Yeah, so I think it's just like a combination of things. We obviously are aware of the issues right now. The biggest thing that one of the biggest reasons we're not sort of focusing on marketing, focusing on promoting the game, or we try to communicate where we can, but we just really had to go back to the drawing board and figure out what the issues were and how to fix them, and that takes a while, especially when it's not an issue of content. We could we could have thrown out a bunch of content updates along the way, but that's not going to fix the retention. That's not going to fix.
Right.
It could bring people back, sure, but keep them there, probably not. So, the core issue right now is a fundamental problem with our game loop, with the gameplay itself.
Okay.
It's nothing. At least that's what we believe, and that's what the feedback we've gotten. That's how we've analyzed it. Content patches, small things, are not going to fix this. It's something that we really needed to kind of go back to the drawing board and figure out. And I think we've done that, and we've kind of been focusing on that. It's something everyone kind of struggles with in any sort of project in an early state. You want people to give feedback on it. You want people to play it, but it's not ready yet, so you're kind of hesitant to show that to them. out of fear that it's going to be their initial reaction to the game,
Right.
and they're not going to give it another chance. And it's a very understandable fear because a lot that happens. So so I think the biggest reason there's not a lot of we're not drumming up a lot of hype or there's not a lot of talk going on is because we want to make sure that the next update will have those problems fixed, and we want to start bringing more people in.
Okay.
And um, and yeah, so we kind of we went over a lot of the feedback, our own kind of personal impressions on the game, and we got a battle plan down. We have a huge game design document that everyone on the team kind of contributes to. Zenity's done a really good job of writing a lot of the stuff up, and we kind of have a community by or a design by community approach to our development, and I'm not saying as in community our outside community, as in everyone sitting in our Discord or Reddit or whatever,
Right.
as in our own internal development team. Everyone kind of has a say, and everything is considered. And sometimes that works, and sometimes it really doesn't. And that's kind of up to me to decide, I guess, on what kind of goes in, and what's just kind of fluff. So, I can we did release a dev blog a few weeks ago, kind of going over those problems, and addressing why we weren't doing any sort of marketing. And I think we have a variety of solutions that we're eager to see during our free to play weekend, which is at the end of the month.
Okay. Well, let's jump into that right now. Yeah. In your last dev blog, you guys have mentioned the free to play weekend, which is supposedly coming after the big update. So I got 3 questions to rattle off here. When can we expect the first? According to the trailer, you guys are calling this the first major update, Q4. When can we expect that?
Yes, so that's going to happen November 29th.
November 29th. Okay,
Yeah, so
and then let me actually look what day that is here. So the 29th is a Thursday. Okay.
Thursday, November 29th is when we'll be shipping our next update.
Okay.
And that will coincide with our free-to-play weekend. And the free-to-play weekend will last until December 3rd, which is the Monday.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we're kind of attacking the problem with 3 things here. A big major release that we will hopefully solve a lot of the retention issues. A huge drop, a free-to-play weekend to bring more people in that haven't really experienced the game, and that want to play without having to drop $25 on it.
Right.
And then right after that, we're going to be actually dropping the price tag of the game a full 60% from $25 to $10.
$10. That was going to be the third question. What is the game going to be priced at? And then, now, is that going to be a permanent price drop moving forward?
That remains to be seen. It's indefinite, I guess, is what we want to say.
Right.
I would like to. I would. It really depends on what kind of showing we have.
Right. So for the foreseeable future, though, you'd be looking at the permanent price drop. It's not just like a promotional, like, couple of weekend thing and then going back. We're looking at a $10 price tag for the game for the foreseeable future until, I mean, usually early access games raise in price afterwards, but for now, you guys are looking at keeping it that $10.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay.
We just want people to play the game. We just want people
Sure.
in the game.
Sure. In terms of the first patch update, I'm looking at the Trello board here. If you were to sell me on it right now, you got a bunch of stuff cooking, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm seeing. What are the most exciting updates that we can look forward to coming November 29th? I'm seeing the hoverboards. A big thing for me, I want to talk about the tournament servers, because I know that there's still an esports interest in this. If you were to sell me on this update, what can the gamers be looking forward to jumping into this free-to-play weekend?
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that's going to be shipping on the 29th. A few big features and a couple smaller ones. in addition to game on integration, which what you just mentioned, the private servers where we can start finally hosting tournaments. That is going to be a big draw from our more competitive players. Um, I know they've been kind of screaming for them for a while.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it takes a really long time to implement private servers, from what we're seeing. But I think once we have it in, it's going to be streamlined to the point where our partners, our Islands of Nyne partners, will get to host private servers and you know create custom matches and host tournaments as well. And we're going to be doing the same thing. We have a couple dev hosted tournaments coming up, and who doesn't like prizes? Who doesn't want to play to potentially win either money or a pretty cool prize? So
Sure.
I think that's going to go a long way in drawing a lot of the more competitive players back to the game, and new ones as well. And then in addition to that, just kind of our gameplay overhaul. There's a lot we've done to the game, and I know we've had a lot of players say that they really enjoy the current, the current state of the game. They like the fast pace. They like the abundant, weapons. They like the plasma field, the dynamic plate pacing.
Sure.
And I agree with all that. So we're trying to add a lot of things that won't, that won't take that core essence that we've already built out of the game. So we're introducing a new character class system, which will feature highly customizable classes. Right now, it's still we're still working on it, but we have 3 different classes, and they all have different sort of gadgets that they come with. And you can basically, what this kind of brings is sort of creates bonds with different styles of play, especially those synergies you get with team play. Someone is a scouts or an assault class. They're going to have different abilities that kind of synergize with each other, and that creates a really fun and deep mechanic. Essentially, that you're going to have to work as a team, work with each other to come out on top, and that creates a lot of depth and strategy for the game. And I think that's something that Islands of Nyne right now is missing the most. The biggest thing is where our game shines in that it's really accessible. It's very simple. We're focused on minimizing RNG as much as possible to create a fair and balanced gameplay experience. Obviously, that's what we've been kind of doing trying to do this entire time. Where that shines, it also draws players away from the game, just because as soon as they jump in, they can get a weapon. They can run around, shoot people. The game ends in 12 minutes or less. That, I believe, has been creating a bit of a stale experience, and that's probably the biggest contribution to our dwindling player count.
Okay.
So that's what we kind of been looking at, and that's what we've been trying to fix. And I think this new character class system is part of that remedy. So yeah, I mean, I don't have to prattle on about this stuff. I'd rather kind of get it into the players' hands, into your hands, and see how you guys like it, and get feedback on that, and kind of evolve it based on your impressions.
Sure.
So we have new character class system is a big one. Hoverboards, you mentioned, that's going to be kind of like a fun toy that players get to hop on and speed through the map. Obviously, there's some balance issues that we need to obviously figure out with any sort of vehicles in a battle royale, obviously.
Right.
So we're going to be it's a pretty delicate process with the hoverboards. We have a new scrap upgrade system, which I'm personally really excited about. And what the scrap update system is it essentially takes all the items that are on the map that you run into and you don't need, and it makes them relevant. For instance, a good example of this, if you're completely geared up, geared out. You have your M4, you have all your armor, you have your personal shield. You come across another M4, you don't need it. Well, now with the scrap system, you can actually basically scrap that item, that M4 that's on the ground, and it generates essentially a currency called scrap, which you can use if you have enough to upgrade your equipped weapons. And so this is kind of like, it's a currency. Scrap is a currency that essentially you find, which allows you to upgrade your existing weapons.
Okay. No, that's cool. I'm actually reading that on the dev blog. Are you guys going to go more in depth moving into the 29th and kind of like explaining how all of this stuff works in a more, I guess, more focused manner instead of just having it kind of all jammed into one dev blog? Are we going to see posts coming here in, I would imagine the next couple of weeks detailing these systems, kind of just giving players kind of a more in-depth look at what's actually going to be coming out in this update? Can we expect anything like that?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, no, we're planning on doing pretty much a full-fledged dev blog video update. We had a couple of those in the past, and they went really well, but they take a long time to do.
Sure. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
But obviously, this next update really. Obviously, I think it merits an update like that, so players can actually, look and see what these new features are, as opposed to me prattling off about them.
Sure.
Or writing a big, thing about how their mechanics. So obviously, yeah, we're gonna have a video out there that's gonna show these mechanics in depth.
Right. No, that's cool. I'm actually looking forward to the update. I really hope that we can see some of the player base return. When I watch early access titles kind of go into this realm where you're getting bombarded by reviews, people stop playing, I find that it's very tough to climb out of it. And I don't know how much you guys, obviously you guys watch the early access scene. Do you have confidence that this patch is going to be I guess I should ask, what's your expectations for the player base? Are you guys confident that the player base is going to start to, I guess, be on the on ramp after you guys drop this with the changes, the free to play, this is just based on the Steam store page. It's a pretty dire situation. Are you guys thinking about this stuff?
Absolutely. To be honest with you, I can't answer. I don't know I want to say yes.
Right.
I really hope everything that we're doing, everything that we've been working hard on, is going to work. We're not idiots. We see what the state is. There's obviously a portion where we're to the point where we're kind of demoralized about it. It doesn't really help things seeing everybody just kind of rip on us, the game, and we just kind of have to ignore it and focus on these updates and just kind of hope for the best. And that's kind of all I can say. I think we've done a pretty good job of kind of pinpointing the existing issues with the game, and I think we're doing a good job of fixing them. If that's enough, I guess we'll find out.
Right. In terms of early access feedback, obviously you guys have been, people are probably bombarding you guys with, fix this. What was you guys' largest? You said you guys have kind of nailed down the core issues with the game. What was the largest feedback, a piece of feedback that you guys have taken and really analyzed and looked into it? And yeah, this needs to be fixed. What kind of core gameplay is it? That currency system to kind of try to change the pace of the game a little bit, or what kind of fixes have you guys been looking at over the last couple of months?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest ones was kind of the hardcore aspect of the game, and the fact that a lot of the gunplay could be a little too punishing for new and more casual players. Where a lot of the competitive players enjoyed that.
Sure.
It was pushing away a lot of the new players. And that has a lot to do with balancing, especially TDK, just your time to kill. and we have a very low time to kill. So when new players get in the game and they're just kind of destroyed by
Yeah.
anyone and everyone around them, it's frustrating, and it's off-putting to those new players. And it just doesn't. It's not something that we can just push off as, oh well, they're new players. They all got to learn
Right.
at some point. Just got to get through it. I think a lot of it has had to do with just a very brutal TDK, an inconsistent TDK, I would say, and that kind of has been impacted directly through our just armor system, just the way kind of armor works. You jump in, you're naked essentially, you just have your drop suit on. You're pretty vulnerable without a full set of armor and a personal shield on top of that. So I think there is just too much. I don't want to say RNG, but there was just a big disparity between having armor and not having armor.
Right.
So we looked at that. That's one of the things in our new update that we're essentially hopefully fixing, in that actually everyone is going to be starting out with armor, and there's not going to be armor that you pick up, but armor upgrades.
Okay. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's one of those things, like we kind of just have to see how it feels and how it plays, right? That's I'm excited. I really hope that you guys, you guys do right by the community, because I know there's a lot of people. It's crazy. You look at the reviews, and a lot of people are just saying they like the game, but nobody's playing, so they can't play, and that's what's causing a lot of the when you look at the most recent reviews, it's overwhelming because people can't play the game. I wouldn't say it's a good problem to have, but it's definitely not as much by design as it is. You just got to try and nail the retention, and hopefully, with the scrap upgrade and the gameplay, design decisions, like hopefully we can kind of get something going with it.
Yeah, I hope so. It's really sad,
Yeah.
to see that, especially from our point of view, that people just want to play the game.
Right.
I want to play the game. Half of our devs really want to play the game.
Right.
Tom, he's hosting unofficial tournaments every weekend to bring people around, and
Right.
it's working. Just kind of getting a schedule down for people to come and play when they're going to be playing, when the servers are going to be up.
Right.
It's hard hitting to us as the people who've are extremely passionate about this, and we put our entire lives into this game for the past 3 years. But at the same time, it's something that we need to work on. We need to look at with a fine-tooth comb, and take a deep breath and ignore, well, not ignore, but be aware of the situation, and try to fix it in any way we can. And that's
Right.
what we're doing. We understand the communication isn't there. A lot of that also has to do with just a lack of resources on our fronts. We're a dev
Right.
team. I got to pay my developers. These guys are extremely talented people. I don't want them leaving. And this is where kind of, going with a publisher would obviously help. I'm not sure fix, but publishers, what they do is a lot of times they offer financial support, and they also offer a lot of the marketing. And
Right.
these are two things that we we unfortunately lack.
Right. Is a publisher, is that discussion in the works?
We've had many publisher discussions.
Yeah.
Honestly, any sort of publisher that has a department or branch or program for indie developers, we've probably spoken to.
Okay.
And after early access, when we started to see the player count kind of dwindling, Jake and I were like, hey, listen, we can't, we need resources. We're not going to be able to sustain without that. And we basically put our asses on a plane, went over to Gamescom, met with a ton of people there, an amazing experience, by the way. Everyone should go to Gamescom if they have the opportunity.
That's cool.
Um, and we spoke to so many big publishers, small publishers, you name it. They were all very, very impressed with our plans, what we had to say, kind of our direction. But nothing really ever came to fruition. We right after that got back on another plane. We went to EGX in London, well, in Birmingham. Spoke to a bunch of publishers, big and small. Same thing happened. They're all very impressed, but I just in the end they just really weren't interested, and a lot of the times, but we weren't interested in kind of going their route as well.
Okay.
So it's hard. We're in a tough situation, and we're trying to make the best of it, and we're not giving up.
I mean, it's good to hear that you guys aren't giving up. It's really, yeah, just watching kind of from the outside in. It's a really tough thing to watch. In terms of your guys' updates moving forward, I feel like outside of the people saying that they can't play the game, I feel like a big point of contention with the community is the lack of significant, I guess you could say, like you said, you guys do major updates, you drop a bomb, and then here you go. The second major update is planned for Q1. Is the idea of dropping smaller little tidbits out of the question? Because I feel like not doing that has actually contributed to the situation with the player numbers. People are watching it and they're kind of just sitting on their thumbs for months on end. Are you guys looking to kind of like maybe fix that moving forward, or are you just going through heads down, first update, second update, 3 or 4 months later, and then going to release in Q2? What's the plan moving forward for that?
Yeah, it's a good question. As much as we would love to drop, smaller updates every now and then, which we do, after launch, I think we had quick succession of 3 or 4
right.
that were a lot of stability improvements, but in terms of features and content, we would like to do that. Yeah, sure. The first step to getting to that point, though, is just kind of fixing the core issues. So if this update goes well, if the price drop goes well, if the free-to-play weekend goes well, then we can start kind of rolling out a lot of ancillary support for these features.
Okay.
And if that is new weapons or more upgrades or class gadgets, then yeah, absolutely, we're excited. We're excited about doing those things. But I also think that we have to make sure that the retention issues are taken care of first.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, November 29th, and like I said, just hoping to get my hands on it and see what you guys have been working on. Let's bring it back to, because I know at the beginning of the questions, you had mentioned that there was some misinformation floating around the community, and then also in my video it landed in there. I want to address some of those points and make sure that you and I can get on the same page with those. Can you kind of detail what you guys are feeling in terms of the misinformation or the rumors that you wanted to kind of squash?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's just that people think we've kind of just dropped off the face of the earth. We've abandoned the game.
Right.
We've abandoned them, and that's just not true. That's just not true. We haven't abandoned anyone. We haven't abandoned this project. It's gonna need some significant, some significant changes. And that's what we're working on. We basically have our heads down right now, and we're trying to focus as much as possible on alleviating these issues. And to do that, as developers, as mainly programmers and artists and guys who are gamers, that's what we're good at. That's what we want to do. So constantly having to, console everyone, and obviously we are putting out updates. They might not be as frequent as people want them. We just don't have a marketing team to really put those things together and dress them up how we want them. And I'm a perfectionist. I want to make sure everything looks great before we publish anything.
Right.
And so if we don't have the the capability to do that, then I would prefer if we wait until we have something that's good. So I think a lot of it is just, hey, we're here, we hear you, we're listening. We're kind of in shock right now. We just went through our first early access. We're not asking for any sort of pity at all, but we're just kind of asking for your patience.
Okay, and I think just some of the discussions I've seen, yeah, people talking about the patients, and then they're also talking about, a big point of contention also is the price tag coming in at $25. Not seeing updates is a scary thing. People lose faith really quick. So hopefully with the price change, I think that's going to excite a lot of players. It's definitely, I think around that $10 to $15, I think where you guys should have came in initially as well. But obviously, I mean, you guys definitely need to keep the lights on too. So it's a tough thing to balance. What's the current state of the community managers? Because I feel like even in my video, I talked about how you don't really see them promoting the game, talking about the game on social media and stuff like that. I feel like the social media side of things, even if you guys have nothing to show off development wise, I feel like that's definitely been lacking, and I feel like that's actually been hurting you guys as well. What's your thoughts on that?
I'll be honest with you. I think the community managers are they're feeling pretty down. Bree, I think she's done a really good job, especially at launch, and Aaron as well, of being there and making sure the community is being aware of knows what's going on and whatever. The community managers are managing them right now. It's a very odd situation, just because, for one thing, namely there's a lack of resources, so we can't bring on community managers that can work full time.
Right.
And I think that's part of it. Another part of it is that I think there's just a lot of morality, a lot of morale issues that they're dealing with, that we're all kind of dealing with, and that's just kind of a matter of making sure we kind of pick ourselves up and kind of focus on the tasks at hand. So it'll get better. We're all very passionate about this game, so when we see that the player count's low, and we see that all the negative feedback about it, I'm not gonna lie, we're people. It hurts us. We read these things.
Oh, sure. Yeah, for sure.
And there's a big misconception that devs are just these guys who just want to throw a game out there and get a cash grab and just peace out. And hey, don't get me wrong, there are definitely developers out there who do that.
A lot of them.
Yeah, and hey, I'm preaching to the choir right now.
Right.
But at the same time, it is a business. There is money involved in this. I have to pay people, so it's kind of hard finding that balance. And I think we're going to see a lot more from our community managers in the coming weeks, just in as we roll out more updates and more sneak peeks for our next major release that I'm really excited about, and I know they are too. So keep an eye out on that, and they're going to be a lot more engaging as time goes on.
That's good. Yeah, it almost seems like at some point you guys are caught in a catch-22. You guys got to work. People are asking for this. You don't have the resources because you got to get to the update. It's definitely an awkward time for you guys in the development cycle.
We've been in a catch-22 since day one.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's. Let me tell you, man. This industry is going to take years off of your lifespan. I'll tell you that much. I didn't really, Jake and I never really knew what we were getting ourselves into, but obviously, with all, the negativity comes a lot of positivity, and our community, our core players, have stuck by us, and they have given us, such an amazing, inspiration. We're making this game. We enjoy it. We love it. we hope you guys love it, and the people that do really love it and they do appreciate it, um, really help us out. We're making this game for them because they want to play the same games as us, and that's what this is all about. Um, so we understand the negativity, we understand the issues, and we're looking at them, we're fixing them. We hear you, but we also want to make sure that we recognize the people who've really inspired us and kept this thing going. This game probably would not have come out without our amazing QA team, who are just guys who are passionate about the game. We brought them on and said, hey, test this until you're really tired of testing that, or you break it. And that's Uwe and Tinge and Game Face. So those guys, we really appreciate it. So there's always a very rewarding experience that comes with it. It's not all doom and gloom.
No, that's cool. Kind of branching off of that, I've had a few of the, I guess you could say, the esports guys hit me up, and they're questioning the future of esports. And esports was something you guys kind of went out of the gate with and promoted hard. You guys had competitive teams coming in. You guys were tweeting about them, and you see this stuff everywhere. These guys are wondering what the future is. You guys are adding the game on tournament servers, obviously, but what is the future once this game goes into launch? What's your guys' vision for the esports side of things with this game?
So hopefully, the esports side of Islands of Nyne will kick in, will take off, and we'll be seeing a lot more, professionally done productions of events and tournaments. We've been talking to a ton of tournament organizers, and they're all essentially, hey, we love the game. We're really impressed with, the thought that has gone into it. Let us know when you guys have private servers up so we can start, taking advantage and create this sort of tournament atmosphere in this space for you guys. And the ones that we've been talking to, I'm not sure if I can drop their names right now, but a couple of them are really big. A couple of them are pretty small. So there are opportunities, though. There are opportunities, and I'm hoping that they're gonna jump on board when we bring this esport element into fruition that we've been kind of working on for a while, and hopefully they'll kind of run with it, and so will Islands of Nyne.
That's cool. I want to talk about the tournament servers. You guys had mentioned if you're a partner, you're going to be able to host private servers and do stuff with prizes and stuff. PUBG has something like that where they have their partners, and the partners are able to host private servers and do all the different game settings and stuff. But the one thing that I felt was limiting them was the idea of you couldn't host a tournament for money. You just couldn't. Is that something that you guys are actually going to allow partners to do?
That's a good question. I don't think I can answer that right now. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to make any promises that I can't honor. But
right. For sure.
I would love to have that. I would absolutely love to have. I know the Game On integration that Spectral is working on right now is it's Amazon Game On. I'm not sure how much you know about it, but
not much.
Essentially, it allows players or us and our Ion partners, so specific people that we give access to host tournaments on their own and provide prize support. I'm not sure if that will be money, but I know it will be stuff that they can win on Amazon specifically.
Okay, that's
since
cool.
It's an Amazon product, and that's essentially how it works. You can play for Amazon stuff, and then on top of that, there's a ton of other options out there that we can go with. It just doesn't have to be Game On. We might be able to have some Faceit integration. ESL, we've spoken to them a little bit too. So there's other options. There's other websites that we can hook our matchmaking into that allows for them to offer completely different servers and create their own sort of tournament environments, whatever that may be. Tournament rules. There's a whole. It's another beast. That the whole esports side is just something that is it's huge right now. But it's a completely different animal than game development. So it's sometimes, I can, I need to have like a really big refresher course before I start talking about that landscape. But for sure, I would love to have a prize pool support where that does offer real money. I think that's what draws more players than just kind of gadgets or something. There's also we have a ton of a backlog of a shit ton of our our skins, weapon skins, and our artists have been kind of pumping them out. So we're excited about essentially giving those out as opportunities for different events. We have our skin to win event that I'm actually really excited about, where our beam drops, or the air drops that we have in game, there's a chance of a rare skin dropping. So that not only provides more incentive for players to find those beam drops, which they're kind of whatever right now, but it also gives them the chance to unlock a really cool skin, and an exclusive one at that. And we plan on having sort of weekend windows where all beam drops drop this exclusive specific skin that you can only get from these drops at this certain time. And that will hopefully bring a lot of players into the game, because who doesn't love a chance at an awesome skin.
Right.
And so yeah, we're really excited about that. There's a bunch of other kind of events that we also have planned, besides from tournament play. We could run a couple more dev hunts, where if you take a dev out, then you unlock another sort of a skin. So a lot of cool incentives and achievements that you can earn along the way.
Right. Yeah, and I think right now, just from the sounds of it, you guys are just looking forward to the 29th, just so you can start putting some of this stuff into motion moving forward, I would imagine. Yeah,
we really are. Really are. We're really excited to see these get feedback on these and see them in action, and hopefully everyone will enjoy them, and it'll sort of alleviate the retention issues that we've been dealing with.
Right. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I have one question left, and this is kind of where I wanted to end this on. Standing here right now, looking back at the last 5 months or so since you guys launched, is there anything that you guys would have done differently, knowing, hindsight being 2020?
Oof, that's a good question. Me personally, I definitely would have done. It's hard to answer.
Sure.
I think there's a lot involved. There is the question is, hey, maybe we should have gone with a publisher. I think that's kind of the biggest looming question. But you never know until it happens, right? We have no idea if a publisher could have, fix these issues by throwing a ton of marketing, or helping us out with all the events and promotions. We don't know.
Like I've seen horror stories of market, publishers coming in and putting deadlines on stuff, giving resources, and then people not able to meet those deadlines, and games fail.
And that's obvious. That's one of the biggest reasons we rejected that. We did not want to go that way. We wanted to have full control over the game, full control over the company. And obviously, there's pros and cons to every sort of agreement. Not all publishing agreements are the same. But generally, I think we had things pretty much under control for the most part, even though we lacked, we basically had no marketing budget for launch. But we had, very passionate artists, and myself, trying to get as much out there as possible. And we obviously had a lot of really good support from influencers too. and that I kind of attribute that to Lido and Aaron who were there during launch. Um, so that in combined with our partnership program or affiliation program that we had with Zola. So there's a lot of things that you know didn't require a lot of money per se, but just a lot of creativity and a lot of resourcefulness. So a lot of the players that wanted to play our game during that initial first week, we kind of we wanted them to play too. You obviously have to draw a big fish streamer, with something other than just like, hey, it's going to be a good game, you should play. That doesn't happen in this world anymore.
Right.
I
Yeah.
hope no one has that misconception, but luckily enough, it's a lot easier for big streamers to play your game if they like it, and I think that's where we kind of shined. They Shroud especially, he I think we owe a lot of gratitude towards him, and he really liked the game because it felt like a skill shooter. It felt kind of like
Right.
Counter-Strike. He obviously had his ups and downs with it at times, but eventually we'd watch him streaming, and it would seem like like a kid in a candy shop. Like he was in the zone. He seemed extremely passionate about the game. Just kind of locked in, and he was very fair too. There were some things that he really didn't like, something that he did like, and we took that feedback and we applied it, and I think he's left a really positive impact on us, and hopefully we've left one on him.
Yeah, people were bringing him up today, and they wanted me to mention. He had mentioned a long time ago about doing some sponsored streams for Islands of Nyne, and I guess people were looking forward to it. Is there anything on the horizon in terms of that type of marketing moving forward? Maybe like past the 29th? Is that something you guys are looking to do?
It's a possibility. I think so. There's different. Yeah, it's something that we're going to have to think about for sure.
Sure.
And a lot of it really depends on just our budget.
Yeah.
To be
for
quite
sure.
honest with you, a lot of the stuff is just brutal. It's not fun to talk about. It's not sexy, So like, oh yeah, we're doing all this stuff. We're doing all this creative stuff, and it's like, yeah, if we don't, it's a very simple equation. If we can't pay this person, then we can't do it.
Right. Yeah. It seems like a lot of it is chalked up to resources, right?
It is, and all we had a very good launch, and we did, we made a lot of money from that launch. The thing is, there was a lot of people we had to pay back. There was, a couple investors we had to pay, so it's not like, we generated all this revenue that we could just dump right back into the game, which I wish was. I'm still right here sitting in my, my crappy apartment. I haven't bought a single thing since launch.
Right.
So, yeah, I think, resources is a big, it's a blessing and a curse, you could say.
Right. No. Honestly, yeah. I jumped in and. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of like I know you had mentioned before about some misinformation, you wanted to squash it, basically letting people know that you guys are still here working on it. Is there anything else that you wanted to kind of get out there into the public?
Not that I can think of right now. No.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I covered everything.
Cool. I pretty much I dived in and pretty much said everything that I needed to say and ask what I needed. And I hope that some of the answers that you gave for kind of the more tougher questions about the player base and stuff, the nitty gritty, I hope people, hear you out and at least come in here with an open mind and can kind of see where it goes at the end of the month here.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And thanks for this opportunity as well. I hope, players are excited for the free-to-play weekend coming out on November 29th. And then after that is going to be a big discount on the game. So hopefully that'll bring players in and then keep them there, and everyone will enjoy themselves.
Yeah, and like I said before, like people reviewing the game, they just want to play it. They don't really have issues with the game. Like, obviously there are issues with the game, but for the most part, the overwhelmingly negative stuff is just because they want to get in and they can't. So,
Right.
hopefully,
I would say it is a good problem to have. I would say it is a good problem.
yeah, it is. I'm sure the comeback story is going to be a lot harder to achieve with that. But yeah, definitely a better problem to have than, you launch. If you guys would have launched the game 6 months earlier than you did, you would have had a lot more problems. You know what I mean? So I think in terms of the dev side of things, you guys are kind of doing what you got to do. I just the communication and stuff like this, I think, is going to help immensely to kind of put the community at ease.
Sure. I mean, hey, if you want, we can schedule another one of these. After launch, we can give a post update. I guess.
Yeah, I would love that. Absolutely. All right, man. Well, I appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know you guys are super busy doing stuff, and like I said, if you want to come back after launch or whatever, that'd be dope to see where we're at now compared to where we'd be there. That'd be dope.
Sure.
For
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah,
All right, man.
reach out to me anytime, man.
Absolutely. I appreciate your time.
You too.
All right.
Take care.
Have a good night.